Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is Milena Regos of Unhustle. It's helping others create a sustainable life, work, play, design. She has a free ebook. You can check it out if you want to learn more about that at unhustle.com/ebook. 7 ways other playful humans, high-performing, lazy humans and companies have adopted the Unhustle framework. If you want to learn more about Playful Humans, share this podcast with someone that needs to hear it. Click subscribe wherever you're listening or watching right now, and go to playfulhumans.com for more information. Here we go. Milena, welcome to the podcast. We like to start with the joke of the week here. The joke of the week this week is brought to you by the anti-gloating cream. Go ahead and rub it in. Anti-gloating cream. What's the difference between a cat and a comma?
Between a cat and a comma?
Yeah, cats have claws at the end of their paws, and a comma is a pause at the end of a clause.
Ah, good one.
There you go. Do you have a joke for us?
I have a joke for you. Probably not as good. Definitely not as good. All right, let's see. A man tells his doctor, "Doc, help me. I'm addicted to Twitter." And the doctor replies, "Sorry, I don't follow you." It's such a bad joke.
I feel like it's a very relevant joke for everybody addicted to social media these days. So yours is more hip than mine. I feel like an old grammar joke, not as current, but cat's also popular on the internet. So, I'm sure we'll both do fine with those jokes. Feel free to share those with anybody in single digits of age in your life. They'll enjoy those. And I enjoyed it too. So, Milena, tell me a little bit about Unhustle, and what does that mean?
Well, it means exactly what it says, right? It's the opposite of hustle. And I started this company after a 20-plus year of going down the marketing career path, which I had a ton of fun with. But then when the fun started to kind of disappear, I was like, okay, I need to come up with a better way to have more fun, more flow, more fulfillment in my life, and I ended up with Unhustle. It's basically, I'm starting a movement to bring people with me along this path of finding more fun, flow, fulfillment, in your words and in mine as well, and I called it Unhustle. The absolute opposite.
And I called mine Playful Humans after a 20-year marketing career, so I feel like we might be interviewing each other here at this point, but
totally.
I specifically want to know about how you came to Unhustle, though, because for me, I was, feeling burnt out and bored and just kind of frustrated. And I found stuff on this play research and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's it. It was like I saw the Matrix and I was like, you're right. When I've been playing and living my best life and having the most success, things generally come easy. I do hustle and I do work hard when I'm playing soccer or I'm enjoying what I'm doing or making this podcast. I'm not really what you would typically call lazy about it, but it's easy and it flows and it's fun and I'm working hard at it because I enjoy it and I'm solving problems and I'm getting better at it. But what was it about maybe the word hustle that triggered you, or in your, long, dark, night of the soul there that you discovered this? How did that come to be?
I went down the marketing path and I love the creativity aspect of marketing, and I played quite a bit while I worked as well. I was a marketing director for a ski resort for 10 years. So obviously I got paid to, play and have fun. Yeah, and it was a blast. And then social media started to take off, and I decided to, launch my own business. I have the entrepreneurial spirit in me, and I was pretty addicted to what some social media influencers are preaching on Twitter and Instagram. Gary Vee, comes to mind. He was
Mhm.
all about hustle culture, and so I was thinking, okay, I don't mind working hard like you, as long as it's fun and you find enjoyment out of it. And a lot of people are in that boat. I think when we get in trouble is when we become, like in my case, I was spending too much time on social media, too much screen time, working with different clients. I was working with some fun people, like celebrities like Madonna and Steve Nash and Dr. Weil. And all of that was fun. And at the same time, I would spend 12, 14, 18-hour days. I started to not do anything else outside of work. So not having any more creative hobbies, not really making time for play. And as you and I know from all the research, play increases your creativity, makes you more productive. When you're rested, you can work better, we can perform better, right? What happened with me is I came to this beautiful place in Baja California Sur, and I decided to learn to kiteboard. Now, kiteboarding, it could be a very dangerous sport. So you actually have
Yeah.
to really focus on doing that, or you could potentially die, right? So I couldn't think about work anymore. I had to really find that focused attention with kiteboarding. And all of a sudden, it became a challenging, playful activity that I could do outside of work that I was really gravitating towards. And I found more energy, I found more fulfillment, I found more fun doing it, which increased my flow and fulfillment while at work. And all of a sudden I was like, the marketing is great, but there's a bigger purpose in me. I need to do something that's more meaningful in the world. Instead of serving people Facebook ads, I want to inspire people to change how they live, work, and play. So Unhustle was born.
Wow, I love that. Very similar for me, except for where we found it. I found that like public speaking, or I host game shows for people and entertaining my nieces and nephews are really like the same thing. When I'm on stage in front of people, I have to be fully focused. I can't be, distracted and doing other things. And I love that about sports too. It does seem to really trigger you into a flow and a play state of really focusing. And I appreciate that you said it's hard. It's challenging. And so it doesn't mean that any of this is easy, or that you can be lazy and just, sit on the couch and watch Netflix and find fulfillment either. It requires active participation in your life, but
Yeah, I
it's
can
active
explain that.
participation in something that's in the present moment, right?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've run across this research from Mihaly. I'm going to try not to butcher his name. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, right? The godfather of the concept of flow, the Hungarian-American psychologist who back in 1960 came up with this research. So I'm sure a lot of things have changed since that with technology, or maybe it was in the 70s when he wrote his book. But basically, here's a very easy explanation that I found, that all of a sudden it was mind blown. I was mind blown by realizing this, because that was my life. I actually lived it first before I discovered it in his research. So basically what he says is most people would say that rather not be working and have more leisure time, right? But at the same time, flow is when you feel fully engaged, you're fully consumed in the activity, right? You become selfless. And so you feel really good. You find that fulfillment in flow. Well, and I'm going to speak for white collar kind of knowledge workers here. When you're working, based on his research, you end up about 64% of the time in flow state, because you're creative, you're motivated, you're challenged, you're checking off to-do lists. So you actually end up in flow quite a bit of time. At the same time, when you go into leisure, like you were talking about, passive leisure, right? You're only in flow if you're just doing Netflix, scrolling on Instagram, running your errands. You're only in flow about 20% of the time. So even if people say that rather not be working, by his research, we end up in flow state less time while we're in our time off. So finding challenging activities that challenge your challenge your skills, whether it's chess or painting or doing comedy in your case, right, or kiteboarding in my case, it increases your time in flow outside of work, and so you would have something to gravitate towards that is actually different from just working.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that I would add to that, which is there are different types of flow. Like you can get into work at your day job that somebody else is paying you for, or you can get into flow with your family and leisure time. And while you may enter that sort of, brainwave state of being present in the moment, there are different types of stress involved there. And you need both, because if you're not performing and you're not working at a challenging task, you're not going to feel fulfilled that you accomplished anything if you only play recreationally. But if you also only work and you never play recreationally and find that different type of flow, your body never turns off, your brain never turns off. You don't recharge those batteries, and it can just lead to burnout too. So
Hmm.
I think, part of what I hear when I think of Unhustle is we also need to stop. We need to take a pause. We need to take a deep breath. We need to find play or other types of activities besides just the hustle, because that to me just, it's like a motor running in the red all the time. It's going to break down eventually if you don't stop and unhustle.
Yeah, to a lot of people, on hustle means that exactly that: stop and rest and find time to play and reflect and be more mindful. And I agree with all of this. And at the same time, as you and I know, doing all of these things makes you more creative, makes you um, well rested, so you can actually perform better. So that concept of flow is where actually you can be a lot more productive. You can get into a state of high performance, right? So it's a whole. I have a 7-step framework to how to get people there, right? And it was based on my own journey and based on how I work with some people. But there's some areas that people always fall into these categories as to what resonates to them the most, and it will depend on your energy level, right? Because we're talking about not managing time but managing energy. So if you're completely exhausted and wiped out, you're not going to be looking to hike a mountain, because it's going to require more energy, right? You're going to gravitate more towards the rest and recovery. Maybe it's sleep, maybe it's more naps, maybe it's just doing something like a low energy activity, whether it's qigong or yoga. Where on the other side, if you're if you're not depleted, but if you're just more into like a languishing state, where you may need a higher level energy activity, and that's where something like a digital detox retreat with high level activities may be more appealing, right? So it's a
I
different ways
love
of.
that. And I want to ask you more about that. So, not to cut you off, but you
Yeah, yeah.
said two of my favorite words, which is the digital detox. I've done this a
Uh-huh.
couple of times in my life, like, deactivated my social accounts, really only tried to check email once or twice a day for work, and try to get away from the computers as much as possible for 30 to 60. I think the longest one I did was 90 days away from social media, which sounds
Good for
crazy to
you.
me now that I think about it. That would even be impressive to me, because
It's
social
pretty
media, I mean, it's
impressive.
been
That's pretty
20
impressive.
years now that I feel like we all get wrapped up and the marketing around it is so good, but there's nothing social about social media, and there's nothing um, about a relationship of liking somebody else's photo is not the same thing as calling them up and telling them that you like them.
Yeah.
Those are two completely different things. So I imagine with all of your work in social media, you have some thoughts on this too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, when I was working in social media, I noticed, I was aware of what's going on with my attention and with my focus, and they were disappearing slowly. I couldn't, I feel like I developed ADHD because I was on some kind of social media, constantly jumping screens, jumping, channels for clients, for myself. I couldn't hold a conversation with somebody. I would constantly reach for my phone. I mean, I experienced it, and then dove into the research of it and what it's doing to our brains, how addictive it is. The social dilemma, if you've seen that movie, that's
Yeah,
pretty
so
scary once you
powerful.
watch it. So I was banned from the social dilemma, right? And then I was the people manipulating banned at the same time, and being fully aware of it. I mean, I would go to bed after being on some in front of some screen for work, and relax by going on Pinterest and Instagram. I mean, that's how ridiculous it was. So what we did with my husband is we decided to come to Baja California Sur on a 10-day trip, which turned out to be digital detox, not by design, but by default, because there was no internet in town. Had I known this, managing a team from remotely, I probably would have not come at all. And it turned out to be completely transformational. It changed my life, because after the first 3 days of, reaching for my phone, realizing that there's nothing I can do on it because there was no internet, that's when I decided to learn to kiteboard and kind of replace the one dopamine with another dopamine. And it turned out to be completely transformational for me because what's interesting about a digital detox experience is that you really need about 8 days before you kind of start to come to feeling human. And feeling human is what really I was missing in the whole equation. So all of a sudden I had people that I can have deep conversations with, I reconnected with myself, reconnected with my husband, reconnected with nature, and my eyes just opened up to the world. And I was thinking, there's more to life than working, and how do I create and design a life for myself with the financial freedom that I need, but at the same time with the rich experiences that I want to have, reconnecting with my values for well-being, for wellness, for human connection, for creativity, all these things that I loved since I was a kid, and which gravitated me towards marketing, realizing that this social media was actually killing my creativity and productivity at the same time. So it was a digital detox experience, and most people won't necessarily be able to have that kind of experience. I did a digital detox retreat. It was one of the first experiences that I did with Unhustle, and it was a 4-day event in Lake Tahoe. And people had a blast. At first, they were very hesitant of kind of giving up their phones. And so I had different levels of disconnecting them from their phones. And at the end, none of them wanted their phones back because they realized how much richer life can be, with just real connections and real-time experiences and adventures. So there's something to be said about digital detox for sure.
Absolutely. I love it. And I still struggle with it. So I'd love to hear more about how you balance these things, because both of us are trying to do things where we're trying to get a community of people together. And I feel like that almost requires some sort of social presence of some kind. And I go back and forth. I have a team that I outsource my social media to. Personally, I only check LinkedIn for work. And then I removed all the apps from my phone. The only things that can alert me on my phone are text messages or the calendar or an actual phone call. Everything else, when I install an app, I just turn off the notifications for
absolutely.
and stuff. But what do you do to kind of help? I still find myself addicted to email a lot. I check it way too many times a day. And then screens are really hard. Just when you think you move away from one screen, another one seems to find you. So how have you found any kind of balance or sustainability in that?
Yeah, I mean, just like you, I go back and forth. What I found works for me is, absolutely no notifications on the phone. Keeping the phone actually not around me also works when I'm working, like just keeping it in another room even. In terms of, I even, and I've written about this on my website, there's even a few more hacks you can do in addition to like turning off notifications, but you can basically go to settings and even raise awake, so that even when you pick up your phone, it still you get a black screen instead of lighting it up. Because the minute you see whatever thing, if you have notifications, but even like a calendar or
at night, I do that do not disturb black and white mode of like a sleep mode for the phone, and that helps a lot because even when you pick it up, you go, "Oh yeah, it's black and white. I shouldn't be on it," but I still pick it up. And I'm like, "Why am I on my phone at 10 o'clock at night?"
Yeah, I try to leave my phone in the kitchen and don't even bring it in the bedroom with me.
That's
because
great.
I know it's an addictive thing. In terms of the screen time, I'm a one woman show, so I don't have a team to outsource my social media to, and I just try to time block, and chunk kind of batch activities, because I know I can easily get sucked into it. I do go back and forth between removing apps from my phone and installing them back in, because for things like Instagram, sometimes you do need to kind of get, have your phone with you.
Same.
So being aware, I think, of your activity, and I don't think, I think social media, as we know, can be really very addictive, right? And sometimes we think we're aware of it and we still get sucked down the rabbit hole. So giving yourself time, being aware of it and giving yourself a time limit on how much time you're going to spend on it. So I kind of got out of Facebook doesn't seem to be following me around as much as maybe Instagram and LinkedIn, but it just depends on where you're trying to be active too. I have built some amazing relationships on social media with people then, and for a couple of years before we've met in real life. So I do enjoy that power of social media. I don't enjoy the addictiveness. And I do think companies eventually will have to get a little bit better about creating good for you technology versus,
Right.
just selling your stuff on social media. That's why I got out of marketing. I just realized how creepy and how powerful it can be from a perspective of manipulating people's behavior. And I just didn't feel good about doing that, even if it was for great brands that had ultimately good reasons to change people's life and behavior. I still didn't want to do that anymore.
Well, and I want to ask you one more about this. I feel like every time this conversation goes into dark places where we don't want to be. So I want to circle back to positive stuff. But
Sure.
the last one that I struggle with a lot here, and since we're both marketers, is what does modern marketing look like if you're not doing pay-per-click ads? Like clearly those business models are broken.
Hmm.
And for people that don't know, I just want to explain it to everybody because we haven't talked about this on the podcast before, but they're auction-based systems, which means the company who can afford to pay the most amount of money to Google or Facebook wins the attention of their consumers, the people using those apps. But what that means is Google or Facebook are taking the most amount of profit out of that sale. And the person who wins the bid is the one who's willing to sacrifice the lowest profit margin. So even that doesn't work. And then if you're paying for attention, a lot of times you're not earning the customer's attention. You're not actually building a relationship with that customer. So then you have to just pay again. I'm wondering how you think about it now, like with your upcoming book for Unhustle or in other things that you're doing. Is there a sustainable way to maybe, in the web 3.0, have private communities like I'm trying to build on Playful Humans? And I'm not even sure that's the answer,
Hmm.
but is there a way to connect with people offline or build a direct connection with email? What would you recommend to somebody who's trying to grow their business and doesn't want to, pay Facebook, Amazon, or Google to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I'm building Unhustle organically. I believe in more of a creating a category versus competing in a sea of sameness.
Same.
So I'm trying to build a movement in a completely different kind of company. And I believe the best way to do that is with content and providing value and building your audience. Where you do it, it doesn't matter as much. Obviously, you have a mighty network, I have a mighty network community. They're great places from a community perspective. I think building your audience will follow you wherever you go. You can pick a channel, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, and do it there, whatever you're most comfortable, whatever makes the most sense where your audience is. I think the key is differentiating. I think the key is thought leadership. I think the key is content that is valuable for your people, as opposed to investing money in pay-per-click ads, because like you said, I'd rather earn people's trust and relationship as opposed to buying it.
So now let's get to the fun stuff. What would you? We already know about the kite surfing and stuff. Is there anything on your bucket list that you really want to do that would be super fun and you haven't yet? Or what was the most fun you've ever had in your life? What would you feel like is the perfect day for you?
I try to do my perfect day every day.
I love it.
I've kind of designed, I've spent a lot of years designing my life. So I live in a place I love, surrounded by people I love, and doing what I love, and contributing in a meaningful and purposeful way to society. I mean, that's kind of my definition of success, and I've worked on it for 9 years now. So a perfect day for me, I'll explain what I'm gonna do today. How's that sound?
Yeah. Do it.
All right. Well, I wake up with the sun coming out of the ocean. We build a house with an infinity bed where we can, watch the sunrise. And then one of the funnest thing I do is go to the farmers market. There's a little farmers market in town, so I go there and I connect with local vendors. Hang on. First, we did a podcast interview, right? So that's super fun for me, and that's kind of checking off something meaningful to do with sharing the message, your message, my message, with more people, and to me, that is very fulfilling and brings me a lot of joy. Farmers market is something that I absolutely love. I go to it religiously. I'm connecting with somebody after this podcast as well to talk about how to create these deck cards for Unhustle, which it sounds like something kind of playful activity for me. To
Yeah,
have
I
like
want to do
little...
that too. I need some kind of game or something as a
Cool. Yeah,
promotional or
awesome.
idea, marketing idea.
Yeah, we can talk about it later, and I can connect you with the guy. He's putting an app together for all these decks, and we're gonna get together and talk about how to get on hustle on them. So that's gonna be kind of a more creative, playful activity. Hopefully the wind's gonna pick up in the afternoon. I'll go kite somewhere in there. I need to work on my book, so that's a fun activity. And tonight we'll cook a delicious healthy dinner and hang out with a few friends and watch the stars and go to bed at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. To me, that's a pretty perfect, simple way of living, and I enjoy doing that.
Sounds perfect to me too. I love it. What kind of food? What do you like? What's your favorite food?
Oh, well, that's one of the reasons I moved down here. A lot of fresh vegetables that taste like real vegetables and fruit. A lot of fresh seafood that is very affordable to purchase. So tonight we'll probably get some fish from the local fish place and make some vegetables with it, and I'm good to go. I'm pretty happy.
I think that is awesome. Now, do you want to play a game before we wrap up?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we are spinning our wheel of games. There are 10 games that it could land on, and you got two truths and a lie. We haven't done this one in a while. I think I ran out of truths that were interesting, but I will make some up here for you. Two truths and a lie is you say 3 fun facts about yourself, and then one that is completely made up, and the other person tries to guess which one is the lie, and our listeners can play along as well. So I'll go first.
Okay.
I have 7 nieces. I have dressed as a princess on more than one occasion. And I have won a beauty pageant.
I'm gonna say lie to the 7 nieces and the other 2 are true.
No, so close. I do have 7 nieces and 2 nephews. The nephews were first and last, so we had a string of 7 girls coming into our life, which means I have had to dress as a princess on more than one occasion. For sure, I am pretty princess, undefeated champion in our house. And then I took second in a male beauty pageant in college, so that was the lie.
Not the first.
Runner up.
I
That stinks.
I was wrong, but I think I like your facts.
They're fun. So do you have 2 truths and a lie for us?
All right, let's see. I am married to an Australian, and the dog is Mexican. Let's say. I'm a best-selling author, and I have an MBA in international marketing.
Ooh, I think we're both cheating here a little bit because we've gotten to know each other. So I'm going to say the best-selling author is a to be and not yet. I think that's the lie. What do you think?
You're absolutely right.
I love it. You
it's
picked
a
a
dream.
great one. Yeah. Hopefully by the end of the year, that one becomes a truth and we have to redo the podcast.
Hopefully, yes. Fingers crossed. More playtime.
So you're married to an Australian with a Mexican dog. What is your background? Milena Regos?
Bulgarian. Yeah, Bulgarian.
Bulgarian.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
So I guess real quick, we got like 1 minute left. What was your story? How old were you when you left Bulgaria or ended up in Mexico there?
No, I actually ended up in America. I lived in America for 25 years. So I was 24, 25 when I left Bulgaria. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like a whole another story we'll have to get into another time. I appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the Playful Humans podcast. For playing our game, you win a free 30-second commercial. Any asks or gives for the audience, anything we can do to help you, now's your chance.
I have a free ebook that people can download that would show them how people and teams get to play more and still do their work and live fully. And they can download that at unhustle.com/ebook and check it out. It will show them the Unhustle framework, and they can experiment with some of the superpowers that are laid out in the book.
I love it. So go check it out. Milena Regos and unhustle.com is the website. If you'd like more information on Playful Humans, first, click subscribe if you haven't already, wherever you're listening or watching to this. Share this episode with somebody that you think needs to hear it, and take the quiz at playfulhumans.com/quiz. It's a fun personality quiz. There are 10 different ways of playful personalities and ways you can play. Check those out and find out more ways that you can have more fun, flow, and fulfillment in your life. Until next time, if you can't be good at it. That's what I always say.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep on chasing the sunshine and go out and play.
Go play, everybody.